Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel here at Get a Loser, and today we are going to be doing eyebrows throughout history. Yeah, so the reason I'm doing this today is because I saw it online recently where people have been doing different eyebrows throughout time in history and then kind of saying which one is their favourite. So I thought I'd try that today because I've been drawing my eyebrows in since I can remember. I remember I shaved them off when I was about 12 and
Tragic.
then I've been drawing them on ever since. And there was a few effie years. Everyone has it. They're bad eyebrow years. See, I remember like really vividly when I was younger. They used to have this website, and it was called OnlyFans. Oh wait, no. No. It was called Ask FM, and it was like an anonymous question thing where you ask people questions and it's completely anonymous. And I remember someone asked me, obviously someone who went to my school, wrote on there, and they were like, "You walk around school thinking you're a hot when you're actually just a chav with disgusting eyebrows on your face." And that has stayed with me. It's been about 10 years and it's still in there. Whoever wrote that message, you. So here we are today. We're going to be basically going through the different years. So I'm going to start from 1910, all right, 1910 to 2020, and I'm going to do all the eyebrows in between. I did a bit of research and I've kind of found all the photos and kind of what they look like. There is a few years in between where they're quite similar, like the 50s and the 60s. They either don't really change that much or just are not that interesting of eyebrows. So I'll skip them, but I will still mention them, of course, and I'll tell you why I'm skipping them. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with 1910. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw them on, and then we're going to have a look at them, and then we'll take them off and we'll do the next. And at the end, we'll decide my opinion of what I think is the best one. We're going to take the hair back so you can actually see my brows. The first eyebrows that we have on our list is 1910. In 1910, eyebrows weren't as important as they are today. They would simply comb and they would shape them, and some women darkened or lightened their eyebrows, and heavy makeup or tweezing was for actresses or for prostitutes. And it looks really natural, like they kind of plucked it a little bit. So I think what I'll do is, because I've got hardly any eyebrows at the moment, I'm going to fill them in to the best I can. 1910. I'm going to use my Audrey palette because it's perfect for this. It's a different brown, quite a light brown. I'm not a prostitute and I'm a failing actress. So this is the kind of vibe I'm getting for 1910. It's like, yeah, you've done it in a little bit. We're here, she's here. But like, they're not going for a shape. They're not going for a specific shape of the face. Doesn't really do much. It just kind of fills it in. Not a fan of this one, don't like it. Moving on to the next one. Next one we're going on to 1920. And in 1920, 20s is the beginning of the more extreme beauty routines for women, with extra thin brows with a downward pointed tip to give women an appearance of a sad appearance, and that was actually the trend, to look sad. I'm just going to take off the 10s and then we're going to put on the 20s. Okay, so what you can see with the 20, it kind of is quite thick and then goes down. So let's try it and see how it looks. I'm going to block my brows down a little bit just with a bit of foundation so that it's more fresh, because it was too much eyebrow underneath, you can't really see it. I can't see why this one would have been that popular. Not a fan. I quite like how kind of emotional it is, but then I don't understand why you'd want to look sad. Why would you want to look sad? Moving on to 1930.
Women in the 30s were all about the thin but high arched brow, where they were high in the middle with even downward curves on both sides.
So this is when I think of like old-fashioned eyebrows, this is what I think of, because this one was a little bit more thicker, but this one literally is just like a line. I quite like the in-between stage. I think maybe there should be like a period of time where there's just no eyebrows. We'll do like a full Jeffree Star look. I'd be okay with that. I'd rather no eyebrows at all than just like a little bit of hair on my face. Next is the 20s. So for the 20s, we're just literally going to do just a thin white line. These are definitely not sisters. I'm living my child fantasy though. This is more like 90s rather than 20s. I just feel like they'd always look so surprised, but I think maybe it's from like a Botox point of view. Like you always look like you don't need to get your face done because it's already done. Maybe it's like, it looks like divine. Okay, so that's 20, no, that was 30. So next we're gonna move on to the 40s. Okay, and in the 40s, it was a marked era of more natural looking shapes. So many women were looking for traditionally masculine jobs for the first time to replace the labour force taken from World War II. So over-tweezed brows died out during this decade. So this was a period of time during the war, women were having more masculine jobs because the men were out of war. And because of that, I guess we didn't have time to pluck our eyebrows like this anymore. We couldn't do the thin trends. So we had to bush them out. This looks like the tadpole phase. I'm doing a bit of research and it's a bit tadpole-y. So we're gonna wipe off the 30s and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put on the 40s. Right, so in the 40s, like I said, I think it's a bit tadpole-y, but so they quit the tweezing, but they didn't like quit tweezing, they just quit tweezing like crazy. I'm gonna do what I think the 40s is. So this is the vibe I'm getting for 40s, which I don't think looks that crazy. It's just so blocky. It's a bit tadpole-y. I think this one's quite boring. And then we get at this kind of midpoint, so I guess it's like 40s, 50s, 60s, it starts to get a little bit kind of the same. Like there's not really much change. So I've got like some photos here for 50s, got some photos here for 60s, and I don't really feel like they're that crazy or that different. So even the 30s. So we're gonna skip 50s and 60s and 70s. I didn't even make a slide for 70s because again, 70s was like, it was just kind of natural. 70s was a bit like this in a way. It was just like people did different things depending who they were. And then back to the 80s, I feel like is when we then had a staple kind of fashion trend in the eyebrows again. So in the 80s is when like a young Madonna, and it was kind of bushy, you let them grow out completely, and then instead of just like you're not even coning them down and like having them fresh, it's like crazy. So I'm gonna do my interpretation of what I think, and I'm gonna base this on Madonna because I think she's like the most famous 80s kind of makeup kind of person in fashion and in beauty at that time. So here we have the 80s. It's giving me very like Cara Delevingne. I get it. I get why they did it. Do I like it? It's not really like, it's not probably not going to be one of my tops. And I'm quite happy to take this one off. So the next, we're going into the 90s, okay? Going into the 90s, so the pencil thin brows came back. And this time, however, brows were overplucked, a naturally arched line of the hair without a lot of filling in. So this is like, you have a little bit of fill in there, and then it really is just a really thin line. Actually, before we get any further in this, I think maybe you should like this video and subscribe as well. Subscribe, and ring the bell too, and then you can get notifications when you get more videos like this. I'm gonna take off the 80s, and then we're gonna start putting on the 90s. So there we have the 90s brow. I don't really hate the 90s brow too much. I think, again, it has that kind of effect with the 20s one where it just makes your face look really stretched out. In a chap, I've never had thin eyebrows. My problem is that they've always been really thick and chunky. So I can't really relate to these too much, but I quite enjoy them. Because I never got to experience them. Being born in 99, I didn't get to experience this era, and I'm sad because I quite like them. Okay, so next we have the 2000s, and again, the 2000s are really boring. They're the most normal, I would say. Like, you just kind of shade them in briefly what you have. So it says, in the early 2000s, instead of making eyebrows thinner, many people made them shorter, tweezing away hair from the space between the brows, so they would have them further apart. The 2000s is probably the safest in terms of eyebrows. So this is what I've got for 2000s. Again, it's a very boring millennium. I don't think we took any risks in the 2000s. This is quite boring. I'm just going to move straight on to the next one because this one is really boring. So the next one is 2010s. And this is my favourite type of eyebrow, and this is still the eyebrow that I do now. So this is the me eyebrow. So this is when we started introducing the fade. So it's about thick, faded brow, starts off thin and faded and gradually fades into a darker shade. And this era is also about shaping your brow to fit your features and make your makeup more natural and more personal. So I loved this craze when this came through, because from having years and years of just really disgusting blocky eyebrows, I quite like the idea of having something natural, because I didn't think I was ever going to be able to actually do natural looking makeup. I don't know how you did these. I don't really do it too much like this anymore, But what we used to do when this trend like first started is you leave the front bit of your eyebrow completely undone, and then you just kind of blend it in. And there we have our 2010 eyebrow, which I know is going to be my favourite because this is still the eyebrow that I do now. All reliable. This is a bit darker than I usually do, but I'm just trying to show that's what it was kind of when it first came. I think it could be a little bit more faded in the top though, I'm not going to lie. Finally, we have our current eyebrow, and you're probably thinking, this probably is it. I was quite surprised when I saw the current one. Well, not surprised, because I know it, because I keep seeing people have it, but I don't get this one personally. But before we do the last one, I do want to do a couple of honourable mentions. One honourable mention for the eyebrow that I used to do in school. I can see why that person made that comment. Because I'll just go to school like this was just normal. I had like blonde hair for a bit as well. So this is my honourable mention. I'd say this is like 2012, 2013. She's ready to go to the club. The final stage is right now. So this is like the kind of new look that people keep doing. I think it's like kind of like a surf and wet look. I don't know, like you have to have good brows for it to begin with. And you brush them back. And I don't know if you really fill them in, to be honest. There's really not. Like you fill in like a bottom line and then you go up. So I'm going to try this. This might be an absolute fail because I don't really have the eyebrows to do it. I think what I'll do is I'll get hairspray and I'll like try and put them down like that. Oh yeah, oh that. She did it. She did it. Why did I think that was a good idea? So this was a really bad attempt. The hairspray, all it did was just make the colour that was already in my eyebrows run down my face. And then I had to put foundation over the hairspray. But this is as close as I could get. And I know I'm done it wrong, but at the same time, I don't get this trend. I don't like it. I don't like where it's going. I think we should go back to 2010. Conclusion. We've now done all of the eyebrows from 1910 to now. I think, personally 2010 is my favourite. I still do that now. But I liked the 90s. I liked that thin brow. And I think in terms of like actually look, I would love for that to come back and be a thing. I mean, I know I can do it now, but like you want to do it if it was like a time where it was accepted. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Follow my social medias at Caprilla Hooper and Caprilla Hooper Comedy. Subscribe as well if you're new, because I upload videos like this all the time, kind of beauty videos, comedy videos, that kind of thing. Also like this video as well if you enjoyed it. If leave a comment too, just so I know that you enjoyed it and I'm not just wasting my time. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.